A few years ago, there was this weird thing where most journalists and most media companies decided to pivot to video. And I always thought, well, that's an exciting thing that journalism can try and that a lot of journalists can be very good at because they're essentially TV broadcasters who are news journalists. But what about music critics? There's been a few. There's the obvious, the Anthony Fantano. There's a few TikTokers who were really brilliant at doing record reviews and recommendations. But I want to introduce you to someone who I think is pretty special. This guy called Jimmy Watkins. He was in a band called Future the Left. He had a very successful running career before he was a rock star. And he's now merged his two worlds together. And, well, here's a taste of one of his reviews, and you'll see exactly why I wanted to include him in this series about the future of music journalism.
Good morning. The air feels sweeter, more plump and ripe than usual. I don't even know if that makes sense, but it's almost as if I've jogged up here and I've made my way through a fruit bowl. Oops, I accidentally pressed play. Hang on. We are here this morning to run to The Art of Losing by the Anchoress. I've heard a lot of good things about this album, so I'm really excited to run to it. I've heard it's very emotional, so I've treated my heart like a hamstring and I've given it a few extra stretches this morning. Here we go then. All right. And the watch is on, the music's on, and we're off, come on. So we start with Moonrise, Prelude. This is all you've been invited into your own world. It's very intimate. I can hear the hands on the piano. This first song feels like a series of deep breaths. What a little drum intro. And then that first line, the word ouch. I feel like I've been pulled in close into a world and now she's showing me around outside. You think you've got a monopoly on existential melancholy. What a line, but something tells me we are dealing with more than melancholy. I think we are going to go deeper than that. Oh, hang on, oh fucking hell. Oh, I can feel the tension of the body there. I feel like we've had the moment of relaxation and now we are becoming streamlined for a very emotional journey indeed. I thought this floor was feeling a bit sticky. They are literally just laying it at the moment, so we're off in a different direction. We've just launched ourselves into that chorus on the exchange. Yes, there's a release. We had the relax, the tension, now the release. We are flying. Just everything on this song, the guitar playing, everything. It's so joyful. You had that drop and there was some kind of, I don't know, something like a news program in the background and they came back in. Yes, I really can't describe how that song, The Exchange, just seemed to appear. So you had these two really gentle, magical songs to start it, and then The Exchange was epic. It was like a massive cruise liner just turning up in the middle of a lake full of pedals. At the end of The Exchange you've got a return of what sounds like the prelude, but it sounds more cosmic. It sounds more as if it's just covered in moonlight, stardust. Oh yes, this is Show Your Face and another.
But the first question I'm asking everybody is, what is journalism?
I think journalism is kind of capturing a moment like a time capsule, and then instead of burying it, shoving it in people's faces. I think journalism is as much about how you distribute it as how you document it. You know, I think if you just document anything, that's just journaling. You know, like I do a lot of journaling and it would never see the light of day, and it's only when I figure out ways to get it out there for people to digest that it becomes journalism. So I think it's capturing something like which happens and you just capture like your truth of it, and then you kind of try and distribute it in the best way for you, the most kind of like honest way that you can. That's what I think journalism is. It's
a really interesting description, and we'll come back to that at the end.
Okay.
So you should introduce it. You passed. Everyone passes. There's no right answer. Journalism is something that's quite subjective. But anyway, Jimmy, you should introduce yourself to the audience. Who are you and what do you do?
My name is Jimmy Watkins, and I guess I'm known as the founder of Running Punks, and I do a thing at least once a week where I go and run and review an album while I'm running. That's me. I used to be.
Yeah, and it is brilliant. Which is why I wanted to talk to you about it.
It's different. It's definitely different, and part of me feels like it's an invention I've invented it, and it's just good fun to do and keep that weird dream alive.
Had you seen anyone else doing anything similar, reviewing records or like reviewing movies or anything?
No, I had the idea as I was coming back from co-op during lockdown. I had this idea that I wanted to document the lockdown, right? I was like, I want to do something that I just have all these videos and I can just look back on it and be like, this is what I did during lockdown. Yeah. And one of the things I wanted to do was just listen to music for the first time. Certain albums I'd never heard before, listen to them for the first time. And then as I was walking back from the shop, I was thinking about it and I was like, I really should like review it, try and review an album while running. And then the first thing I did when I got home was Googled how other people had done it, because I felt certain like this must be something that someone's doing. And then I saw that nobody was doing it. It was kind of like, oh my word, I've invented something. Like this is something that's never been done before. And then I started panicking, thinking there must be something in the air. I reckon loads of people have had the same idea at the same time, so I need to do it first. So I did a quick vote on Twitter, what's the greatest debut album ever? And a ridiculous amount of people said Spice World by the Spice Girls. So I went out and ran to Spice Girls. That was my first one.
Wow, that's one hell of a pilot. Had you ever listened to the album in full? Because I bet you knew all the singles.
I knew the singles, but I'd never listened to the album. I just thought like the only Spice Girls albums were best ofs. I didn't think they actually did an album. So yeah, and I think I enjoyed it. I think I just enjoyed the experience more than the actual music.
And you, before I interrupted you, were about to give a bit more of your background. So Spice Girls is quite a leap from the kind of music you used to make, and probably the music you grew up listening to. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your past?
Yeah. So I guess like the first kind of thing I started doing as a functioning human was sport, and I was very kind of sporty in school. It was a way for me to no longer get bullied. I figured that if I was a really fast rugby player, I'd be quite popular. So I was a rugby player, and then I started doing athletics. And within a couple of years, I was running for Great Britain, 800 metres and stuff. And I did the World Championships, European Championships. Did quite a lot in a short space of time, and then quit the sport when I was 25 to start a rock band. As you do. Because as an athlete, I loved all the travelling. I really loved going abroad to race. And I just kept thinking, like, what's a better way to do this? And I thought to do it in a band where I can drink and party instead of eating salads. So, yeah, I left athletics to start a band. And then maybe like 3 or 4 years with my own band, I got asked to join my favourite band, a band called Future the Left. I got asked to join them as a new guitarist, and that was it. Like I was living a dream. I spent a couple of years with the band and then left.
The dream in transit vans.
Yeah. It was, for a long time it did really feel like the dream. And then kind of I had a bit of an unhealthy relationship with alcohol and stuff, and it was for everybody's benefit that I was no longer in the band. And then I started running again. I spent a few years not knowing what I was doing, started running again, and then that changed everything for me. I fell in love with music again, and then started this thing called Running Punks with a friend from school.
So did Running Punks come before the Running Reviews?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, Running Punks started in October 2019, and it was like just this really small idea where I wanted to meet bands as they played in Cardiff. And I wanted to be there. It's ridiculous now I think of it. I wanted to be there with loads of kit and say, do you want to go for a run after sound check? Because in the past, when things went wrong for me, was when I really wanted to run before gigs. And so often you'd ask like the sound guy, whoever worked at the venue, where can I go running? And everyone was like, no idea. So those nights, I think if I'd just been for a little run, I would have been a bit less of a train wreck. So my idea was to stop that happening to people in Cardiff and just be there to say, look, I can take you for a 5k run. I know a 5k loop. So that was the plan of Running Punks. And then lockdown happened.
Did you take like John Grant out for a run or something? Who went for a run with you?
We didn't take anybody, because as soon as we had the idea, lockdown happened pretty much. Okay. As soon as we had the idea, yeah.
And then it grew to be a community of people running independently.
Yeah, and then it became an online thing, and then I just knew that I had to do something which connected running and music. That's what I really wanted to do, because I always felt, as an athlete, when I went to gigs, I felt a bit embarrassed around all the rock stars because I was just a runner, and I felt like these were two worlds. which didn't belong together. And I just had this thing in my head that I just wanted it somehow to combine them. And that's when I just started running and reviewing music, and then seeing that for lots of people who want to run for the first time in their life, they'd seen someone who looked really sporty but was into the same music as them. And it just gave them a reason to reach out and ask for some advice on running. So, you know, not many people who are into death metal have someone they look up to as a runner. So it was like, it worked really well in that way. It introduced running to people who kind of didn't want to sign up to Joe Wicks or something like that.
Who thought it was just for Calvin Harris fans?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, you can run to just anything. You can run to all music.
I did the Couch to 5K a few times, and I'm pretty sure like I kept going to listen to records like Lady Gaga or Cut Copy, maybe, like things that felt like they were kind of a steady pace, and then I realized, oh, I can just put on Deftones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like some people say, oh, you know, it's not running music, but if you haven't got running music, you'll just run with a head full of anxiety. So if you can, if you can run with that, you can run to any type of music. Like I love running to things like ambient stuff, you know, like anything, just a bit of sound is just perfect. Yeah.
So the reviews, they are pretty special. Justin Hawkins was a big fan of your Darkness review that you did recently, and he talked about that on his YouTube channel. That must have been a bit surreal. I remember that I came across your channel because I manage an artist called the Anchoress, and you reviewed her album When Running, and we'd had incredible reviews across the campaign, like Sunday Times Album of the Week, Elton John raving about the record. But your review stands up to me as both getting the record and an real experience of just like feeling like I was there where someone was listening to it, and the way in which you convey the similar kind of things that some of my favorite writers do, of that like first person just like whiz of passion and excitement around the music. How did you first begin to kind of approach the reviews? Because obviously you condense them into a kind of supercut of your reactions to the record, and part of me wonders whether you're talking the whole time and just cut it. I'm assuming you run for a bit, have a thought, record, stop, run for a bit, record.
Yeah, I'm gonna give stuff away now.
You don't have to go too behind the scenes if you don't want to.
No, it's fine. I think I've mentioned it to enough people so some people know. But at the start, it really was just running and pretty much talking for the whole run, and then spending hours editing it down, like a long time. And those
laughing
reviews,
at yourself at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. Like, what am I doing? And having this real battle of, I can't put that on the internet. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
And really have it like it was a real journey for me to figure out how to put these videos together. But that's because I started off with just the intention of just documenting stuff. So, you know, it was cool. But then as I kind of got a bit more attention, I got a few people asking me to do pre-releases. Like a few labels were like, we'd love you to do a video of this before the album comes out. So that's when I started writing them beforehand, because I knew this needs to be good now. Like I can't rely on just winging it every time. And I was going to
say those killer one-liners, they seem like they need a bit of thought.
Yeah, and I was getting really nervous about doing them, and part of the reason I was nervous was because I didn't know if I was going to have anything to say. So I started off just writing a few points. Like I had a few things written down, and then that kind of eased me into it, and I found it a bit easier to get going. But now, generally what I do now is I listen to the album and I write off the top of my head. So I try and get in headspace of I'm out running, and I just write all this mad stuff down, and I tend to stop myself at like 2,000 words. I'm like, right, okay, that's enough. And then I'll go through it and kind of listen again and just pick the bits that work for me. And then I'll read it in my head, like I said, running review, and I'll split up into clips. And then, okay, I'm ready to do it. And then what usually happens is I'll go out and I'll start saying something completely different. Like, that happens a lot. I'll go out. Yeah. It happened with the Jeff Rosenstock one recently. I had the review written, and then I started running, and I was like, no, this album is about something different. So it was like kind of just trusting myself, like, no, this is what it's about. So it's a mixture. Sometimes I'll stick to script, other times I'll go off, and then I definitely went off on one on the Anchoress one, because I'd read something that morning about if women are like experiencing some kind of turmoil in their lives, they'll attach it to like a natural phenomenon to try and make sense of it. And as I was running into the album, this reference to the moon kept coming up, and I was like, "Oh, hang on a minute! This is spooky because this is like something I've just read this morning." So that went in there, and it wasn't scripted. So it's a mixture.
And the style of kind of music criticism, I guess, is the best way of explaining what you do. Had you grown up reading writers? Had you grown up with like Melody Maker and Kerrang and those kind of things, or were you much more reading kind of sports journalism and things?
This is what I used to do. My mum and dad used to take my sister to the ballet on a Wednesday, and I'd go to Tesco, pick up a magazine and read it for free in Tesco, and then wherever album had a good review, I'd buy it in Tesco. So I would never buy the magazine, I would just read it and literally walk across to the other side of the aisle and grab the CD. And it's mad to think about it, but like I bought a Mogwai album in Tesco in 1996.
That's amazing to think Tesco sold Mogwai.
No, I bought Mogwai Young Team in Tesco. I bought kind of the first album I really fell in love with, In It For The Money by Supergrass, I bought in Tesco. Because I just read a review in The Enemy and they said it was really good. So I just literally went to the aisle behind me and I was like, oh, there it is, I'll get it. So I think as a kid, you need someone to tell you what's good or not, I think. You know, much like you need someone to tell you what you can and can't eat. It's kind of like, this is good. So I think, okay, I'll give her a go. But certainly now, I don't really read many reviews, or I don't really I don't look at scores and stuff. I think I'm a grown up. I can figure out myself if I like something. So, but I definitely, my music taste was influenced by what had good reviews. But in terms of reading music journalism, no, I wasn't really that into it. I was really into... when I was a kid, I was obsessed with Wonderland Avenue by Danny Sugarman, which is I think he was like 16 years old when he managed the Doors or something. And my dad bought me that book, and I was really interested in books, music journalism books. You know, that really told a story and lived with people. That's where I was, and I still kind of am drawn to those things more than magazines.
Because the way you approach things and the kind of tone of your reviews, you've clearly like been a big reader as well. Like they're not just because a lot of music journalism is quite flat, and a lot of music criticism has the same tropes. And I feel like you sort of know what some of those tropes are, and then flip them on their head. They're like this. I think that like this sounds like the kind of bag of spanners falling down the stairs metaphor, but I think you often take that up, or this is clowns on acid or whatever it might be. I think you understand that those cliches kind of are there within journalism, but they're probably deep in your subconscious from reading The Enemy on the floor at Tesco at 14.
Yeah, definitely. And I know it gets a lot of stick, but I'm a big fan of Pitchfork. I really like the reviews on Pitchfork, and my band famously had a bad review on Pitchfork, and oddly I agreed with it in a weird way. I was like, you know what? Yeah, they're not wrong, apart from they made a comment about the production being really fancy. It wasn't. So I've always been a fan of Pitchfork, and Pitchfork is full of stuff like that. So I kind of like that. I know it gets a lot of stick, that sometimes the introduction can be really long on a Pitchfork review, and they are known for harsh scores, but I just like reading about music, yeah.
So you're definitely someone who's grown up with a diet of the kind of journalism without journalism, which makes sense. So what is it you think that, because people really engage with your reviews, and I'm guessing having a community of runners that are looking for things to run to as well must almost make you feel like, in a weird way, like you've got to kind of think of the audience sometimes, and like, are you getting people tell you they've discovered a record off the back of your reviews and those kind of things? You feel like something you maybe didn't ever expect to happen when you just started running and chatting into a camera.
Definitely. It's cool because I'll either get someone say they discovered an album or an artist they've never heard before, or someone got into running. It's really unusual to have something on the internet today which kind of like, whatever angle you come at it comes from a good place. You know, they really are just either going to get people out running or get people into music. There's nothing else to it. And I'm not really like trying to sell anything when I do it. I'll wear Running Punks merch, obviously. But yeah, it's I never thought that they would kind of get people into certain artists. I never thought that. But for me, it's been like I went through a phase where I really fell out of love with music.
Yep.
I got to the point where I had my favourite artists. I think I went for like 2 years where all I listened to was Jamiroquai or something. And it's like, I know what music I like, I'm done. And it wasn't until I started running, kind of stopped drinking and stuff, that I started exploring like what's out now and new music. And I really fell in love with it. And that had such a powerful effect on me. Like it made me a happier person. It made me a happier person listening to music and finding new stuff that I just wanted to share that, you know?
Do you come across records that you either really don't like and want to review, and then you record it but don't want to publish it?
Yeah.
And do you ever come across records that you really like but you can't really run to?
Yeah, totally. I had do you know what? One of my favourite bands is Dry Cleaning. I absolutely love Dry Cleaning. Like I can listen to Dry Cleaning, an album, and then I can write lyrics for 3 or 4 of my own songs, like straight away. They have this effect on me. And I was in a cafe in Bristol at the start of the year, and I saw Florence from Dry Cleaning. I was like, I gotta go say hello. So I said hello. I was like, look, I'm a massive fan. And I said, oh look, I did a running review of your first album. And she's like, oh, I've seen it, I loved it, it was amazing. And then she's like, you haven't done the second album. I was like, I'll do it. It took me like 6 months to get the courage to do it, because knowing that someone is going to watch it is really nerve-wracking for me. Like sometimes you can pretend that no one's going to see it, and it's really easy to review. But when I knew that she was going to see it, that was hard for me to do. It was really hard. And like, yeah, I get that with a lot of stuff. Kind of like Kendrick Lamar, probably my favourite artist. I could not review a Kendrick Lamar album. I would just find it too much. So sometimes it's too much. I did a few bad reviews early on, and I slated Slipknot, and then a week later I saw that Corey Taylor had liked my review of me slating Slipknot, and that was the end. Then I was like, no, I can't do it, because in my head I pictured myself being on holiday somewhere enjoying it by the pool, and then someone I've slagged off turns up. So I was like, no. It made me realise how small the world was.
And it's also, you've got such limited time to film and record. Like I'm sure they don't take you 10 minutes. There are a good few hours of your life, so you might as well spend the time on something you want to recommend, because there's 120,000 tracks released every day. So I think there must be like 10,000 albums released every week.
That's crazy. And the mad thing is, like, it's kind of easier to write a bad review. Yeah. And writing a bad review, those reviews where I didn't like it were really easy to do, because it's easy to say why you don't like something. It's hard to keep on saying why you're loving something. So I don't know, it's a good challenge to still be positive. But I'm thinking I'm doing a Patreon now, and I'm thinking a good way to make money is to do negative reviews on Patreon. the runs you couldn't finish because the record was so bad. Yeah, like just putting little snippets up. Oh, this is the worst thing I've ever heard, and then people will pay to watch it, I think. Yeah.
I quite like the idea of you get to like track 3 and just like, and then I just went to this album, and then I went to this album.
Yeah. I did that with Marilyn Manson. I didn't make it through a Marilyn Manson album. That was early on as well, but it was like 75 minutes long, and I was like, I've had enough now. Yeah, I was going to say,
like, could you do like the Joanna Newsom triple disc?
I could give it a go. I have this idea of.
I think it would probably be an ultra marathon by the time you finished it.
It'd be quite cool though. Like I really want to do one where it looks like I run across all of Wales. Yeah. You know, like I start in Cardiff and then I finish in Anglesey or something. I think that would be really cool. I just need the right album to do it to.
You could do the Mannix discography.
I could do, yeah. I could do every Mannix album and just run across Wales.
Yeah.
I finish in Blackwood.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I really like about what you're doing compared to just typing and posting it on the internet or putting in print. Like, I feel like if we go back even 10 years, people wouldn't have had the cameras, people wouldn't have really had the broadband to watch it. I mean, YouTube obviously took off in like 2008 or so, didn't it? But
yeah,
I feel like the format that you found, like, I can't imagine Top of the Pops dropping in one of your record reviews or the chart show or something. Even though they could have filmed it and done something like that, it feels like we've reached an era now where people can find something. It's almost like you're a columnist. Like, because in a weird way, your reviews reminded me of Charlie Brooker's TV column that he used to do.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sort
totally.
of like going inside the belly of something for 5 to 10 minutes and just reading it. And I feel like I can't imagine a magazine that would like commission like all these different things, which it's so wonderfully unique that you've created something and people wait for the next one, or they subscribe and then they get a whole bunch put up in their feed. It's quite a timely. I don't really have a question now. I've sort of just started rambling and don't know where I'm going. But
I mean,
I think
go on.
No,
Sorry.
there you go.
But I can add to that, because I get that it is unique and appealing, but at the same time, like, I get really frustrated that I don't get asked to do more stuff. Like, I did Ash Nico running review. Okay, Ash Nico's like amazing. A friend told me, she said, "You got to listen to this album, you're gonna love it." And I listened to it. I was, oh, this is something else. Like, it's a pop album which is really dark and weird and tackles a lot of stuff. And I said to my friend, "I'm gonna give this a go. I'm gonna write a review for this thing and I give it a go." And it was quite tough, because there's, you know, a lot of stuff that a 40-year-old white man probably is not in the best place to talk about. But I just did it, and I went for it, and I put it online, and then Ash Nico like shares it on Twitter, and she says, "This is the only review you need to see of my album. Like, this is the most important watch." And, you know, she's got like 1 million followers on Instagram or something, and that video had like 250,000 views on Twitter really quickly. And then I get like, I'll be honest with you, I get a buzz from that. I get really like, oh my god, I've made this connection with a 25-year-old female musician. This is mad. I can't believe I've done this. And then the next day comes, oh, why haven't I been asked to do something? And do you know what I mean? Like, why? I don't see artists sharing reviews from other people where they say like, this is the best review, or this person really gets it, and I'll be like, oh, I need to go work on a building site this week because I got no money. And I'm saying, why? How does this become more of like a mainstream thing? But then I just realised, no, that's the beauty of it, is that it isn't. It's just a mad guy running around the mountains.
Because one of the other interviews in this series, I spoke to a TikToker, and we ended up talking a lot more about DIY culture than I expected. And I didn't really think about the so-called creator economy being basically like DIY culture, isn't it? And I think a lot of people that are used to the idea of going out, pressing a record, like, I don't know, there feels like there's something that's so different that we understand it, because in independent music it's kind of normal to make your own thing. And but like, for instance, in the film world, it's all still big budgets, and even independent production companies have got like millions behind them, and like Film 4 is not a small company, even though there seem to be like small independent productions. And I think like blog culture and like fanzines and things were all kind of, you just went out and did it and made it. And like, you're probably at that point now of like, could you commercialize it? Like, for instance, if you were started wearing bands merch, like, would you then charge like a footballer like to be the shirt sponsor for a run or something? Like, but do you see what I mean? There probably are things that you could start doing that, like, because you're reaching a certain type. Like, for instance, most musicians don't make running merch, and I wonder to what extent, instead of Nick Cave selling tea towels, he could sell like some crazy like Red Right Hand running kit. And like, people would probably buy it. Like, I recently got back into mountain biking, and like, I couldn't find any bands apart from obviously Kraftwerk that make cycling wear.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, that's so true, because I would totally wear it. Yeah. You know, if a band I like did run in merch, I'll run in cotton t-shirts though. I will run in just normal merch, but yeah, there's definitely a market for it. And there's like is it Satisfy clothing? They did like a running range, and t-shirts for like £100 or something, and they had like Joe Strummer on it and stuff. So yeah,
There's probably, how do you commercialize what you're doing is like, how do you sell out, Jimmy?
I just want to do it on the 6 o'clock news. I want a little segment on BBC News where I do a running review. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, those thoughts only last like a day until I just get up and do another one. But
well, yeah, you do. You've also got that odd thing of the dopamine, not just from running, but of the audience, them reacting and like suddenly going from reviews getting a few thousand plays to 250,000. Yeah. Like as humans, we're not prepared for that, are we? It's a bit like you're playing to 300 people one night at a gig, and then suddenly you're playing arenas. It's without really doing anything different.
Yeah.
So it's not like you were in control of suddenly like, whoa, what? Wait a minute.
Yeah, it's not like, I've suddenly done a good video. Like, they're all pretty much around about the same. It just depends on how the artist picks up on it, or the artist shares it, and the artist fan base. Those are the ones, and I like that. It's fun because I've compared it to like fishing to my friends. It's kind of like each one is like you just chuck in a net out there and you say, okay, let's see what happens with this, and now and again a band will share it and it wouldn't go massive, and you go, okay, but it's good that the band liked it. Then now and again you get something and it just it just goes crazy, and that's
with Drowning Sound, we obviously had a lot of artists share stuff we posted, and it's really interesting, the artists that when they shared it made almost no clicks.
Yeah.
Like, and some of that's down to their social channels not having much traffic and their audience not being that engaged. Like, I think I remember like Moby, when he had like over 1 million followers on Twitter, shared something, and I think it was like 50 clicks from Twitter or something.
It's crazy.
It was so bad.
It's mad, isn't it? Yeah, it's mad. I always find that amazing. And sometimes I'm trying to think what was happened to recently. It was like really big, and then they shared it, and then it was kind of like no engagement with it at all. I can't think who it was, but
don't worry, don't need to. It's the I don't mind shaming Moby for not driving traffic.
No, this was someone like Moby though. It was I don't know, but it's the way it is.
So this series is kind of thinking about the future and thinking about, because for instance, one of the big things I think that's changed is I don't think, like, Drowning Sound started essentially more as a platform for people to write their own blogs.
Yeah.
And then it sort of in everyone's mind became Drowning Sound says. It's like, no, this guy asked to review the record. It's his opinion. and I found that really difficult because like there was lots of records I love that've got bad reviews on Drowning Sound. Like there's the first Panic at the Disco album I adore, and it's got like a 5 out of 10. This isn't music, and I'm like, it is. This is like the perfect kind of twist on Duran Duran for the modern world, and like I really loved it. And I think occasionally there'll be records where like some really beautiful ambient album, and someone that reviewed it just wasn't into that type of music, and it got bad reviews, and so anyway, so there's kind of like a shift happening, and obviously you're not employed by YouTube or anything like that. Like, it's your own thing, it's your own platform. I'm just curious whereabouts you think someone starting out today that's maybe been really inspired by what you're doing, like, should they be pitching to Rolling Stone to become their running correspondent, or they're like walking record reviews or something? Because there's all sorts of different formats that people could do. That's like speedboating, like trying to find the ultimate album to speedboat to. The paragliding, like you take 10 albums paragliding and rate them out of 10 for which sounded best.
I can see that being a feature. I can see that happening now.
Well, I'm just curious to sort of, from the things that you've obviously experienced of just starting something and doing something very much, as you said, kind of a DIY thing. It's not really like a business, is it? It's like you've been doing it and it's fun, and it's carried on being fun, and it's become more successful. Yeah.
I think like for me it's always been about what was the artist trying to do, like what, never mind your opinion on it, your take on it, what was the artist trying to do, and I think as long as you do that, then you've got a good chance of it, like at least the artist being thankful that you've taken the time to try and understand what they've done. And that comes from like my own position as someone who's made music in the past and has just finished making an album. You just think, I would love someone to take the time to try and understand what I've said here or what I'm trying to get across. So I really think is just listen to it as a whole. Whether or not the artist themselves is aware of it, there will be something that's travelling throughout all this music. There will be some kind of theme, because they've written it during a period in their life where they're probably going through something, or like there's always some kind of message in there. So I would say, like, really focus on that rather than think about, like, I want to give this a review. I want to be like needle drop and give a review. Like, no, really try and find out what the artist is trying to say, and see if there's a way that you, as someone who might be from a completely different part of life or stage in life, see if you can relate to it, because I think that's all artists want, is to realise they've created something which appeals to everybody. So that would be my advice. Because,
like, I announced that music journalism was dead on the day the In Rainbows reviews went up within 2 hours of the record coming out. Because I think Radiohead don't spend 2 hours making an album, so journalists should spend more than 2 hours. You can't listen to a Radiohead album twice and think that you've got it and say it's the best album of their career, or the third best album of their career. And I think there's something to be said for that, because I think although your reviews maybe look like it's your first time listening, it's clearly not.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if it is my first time listening, I will say, like, so for example, on the Justin Hawkins one, that was my first listen to The Darkness. But I just thought, look, this is The Darkness. I know enough about The Darkness to know what's coming. So I'll say, like, this is my first listen. But I just think, you're not gonna be able to rate In Rainbows in 2 hours, but in 2 hours you might be able to get a feel of what they're trying to say. So if you're gonna write a review in 2 hours, at least put it across as, like, this is what I think this album is about. I'm not rating it, but this is, after a couple of listens, this is what I think they're trying to say. And I think that, like, an artist would be more, they would appreciate that more than you going, oh, this sounds like something 6 out of 10.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Because no one's writing records for you to run to, specifically you in your specific environment, which I think is quite an interesting, like, there's some AI apps and tools that can, like, adapt and change the pace of a record, and there could be quite a fun project going forwards. Like, I don't know if you've come across something called Endel.
I think we talked about this before. I think we messaged each other about this. That'd be keen. I'd be keen to try that.
Because it can, like, set to your pace and things. There could be something quite fun to try with that. But yeah, I feel like what you're doing's got such a unique perspective, but technically you could produce probably your 2,000 word review and publish it on the internet, and it would not get anywhere near the same amount of traffic and interest, though it's the same words. And I think that's really interesting. Yeah, no way. Because I mean, I get injured quite a lot. I got really injured doing a Viagra Boys running review because I tried to jump over a shipwreck in Pembrey, and I tore my calf and I couldn't run for 8 weeks. And people were saying, "Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at you being in pain. I was just laughing at the idea of you jumping over a shipwreck to the Viagra Boys. It seems so specific." It was like, I was sprinting down the beach, and I had this thing I wanted to say, and I was like, if I say that and jump over that shipwreck, this is going to look amazing. This is going to go viral. And I pulled my calf doing it. And I had friends who were like, just film yourself doing a review, like, just sit in the house and do it. And I just knew, no, that's not, even though I could be saying the same thing, that's what I mean about journalism. It's like how you get it out there. That's as much a part as that's more important than the words sometimes, is how am I going to present this, like. And sometimes when I'm writing it, I'll write a review and I'll be like, this bit needs to be read going down a hill really fast, or I need to run through a bush saying this, or I need to find a really muddy bit of Llanelli and fall when I say this. And it's all like, that is me already thinking about how it's going to go out there, how people are going to see it. That's the whole thing. Like, that's the whole fun of it. Have you reviewed Snapped Ankles yet? Which, for one, I think is a bad idea to review a band called that. But they're the ones that dress up as trees, aren't they? Yeah, I should do it. Just do the whole review running through a hedge. I should do it. I should definitely do that. I love Snapped Ankles as well, so I should definitely do that. There's, like, concept reviews that you can do. It sounds quite kind of there's probably something quite funny in that, especially because most of the review records you review are new albums rather than, like, classics, aren't they? It's like, yeah. There could be some fun ones to go. Maybe that's for your Patreons, to pick the, like, best albums of all time and do concept reviews. Yeah, they are, like, to be honest, like, the ones where I do a classic album I've never heard does go down well, mostly because people can't get over, like, some of the albums I haven't heard, like being in a band like Future Left for 10 years and then saying I'd never heard Black Sabbath.
So, you know, people are like, well, how? I just haven't, because
Yeah.
like, I think it's easy to forget that we come from a time where you had to buy your music. And if I hadn't bought it, or, you know, if it was I know, say it was like Cooler Shaker's album came out at the same time, or Cooler Shaker's album was out and I was thinking about buying Black Sabbath, I'm going to buy the new one. It's like, that's just how I was as a kid. I wasn't going to spend my money on something which was old. So because of that, there's a lot of bands, like, I've never listened to a full Pixies album. I've never done it because I just didn't buy them because they were a bit before my time.
I only listened to them because someone taped them for me.
Tape them off the radio.
I'm trying to remember what was on the other side of Doolittle. I think it was a Symposium album that someone taped for me.
Oh, was it?
So we'll get towards the end now. Is there any other accounts and kind of even like things that nothing to do with music you want to give a bit of a shout out to, or stuff that you've kind of been quite inspired by, or just feel like more people should know about?
I'm trying to think now.
I was trying to let my question meander long enough to let you think.
I do, and you did give me a heads up that this was coming. I am an absolute sucker for reaction videos. I do love them. Particularly, like, they work really well with hip hop. Just listening to a hip hop album for the first time and watching people listen to it at the same time as you, it does give me shivers. I do get excited by that. I do really still. I watch like Needle Drop, Anthony Fantano quite a bit. I'd like his stuff. And there's loads of people. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think. But there's a lot of people just doing cool stuff. And yeah, I guess like one thing which was like really important for me was the Dissect podcast, where they take like a deep dive into lyrics, and that was like, yeah, I spent a lot of, particularly when I first started running again, a lot of early mornings, late in the evening running, listening to people really dissecting songs, and I love that. So anything like that is right up my street, really.
That's cool. And if you were to suggest someone to take away something from this, like, what's the one thing about what you do that you think could be applied to like other types of writing or thinking? Or like, for instance, I love the idea of someone doing like a political kind of thing where they just like talk about what's going on in the news today, but they're just doing weights.
I don't know, I've thought about doing political ones. But then I don't really know enough about politics. I know how bad the government is. I could just do like little rants how bad the government is. That could be quite funny. I think is like one thing for me, and I've really noticed this, is that I think music is some kind of intelligent being. All right, I really do. I think it's got its own life, and it knows when you're putting effort in to understand it, and it will reward you. And I teach at BIM in Bristol, and one of the things I start a lesson with is I put a picture of a lawnmower up on a screen, and I ask the students, like, what's this? Oh, lawnmower. And I'm like, no, that for me is how I fell in love with music. And I go on this whole thing about how when I first bought music, I cut all the grass in my parents' street with my dad's lawnmower, saved up the money, bought the album in Woolworths in Pontypridd, and then quite often like didn't like the album on first listen. But I knew, like, it took me so long to cut all this grass, I have to make an effort. And I really felt like music rewarded me for that effort. And I feel like with the running reviews now, you're locked in. So even when I'm writing them, I'm sitting down, there's no distraction, and I know I want to understand it for the running review. And I just feel like music appreciates that because it's become so disposable. It feels like it just knows that, oh, hey, this is someone give me a bit of attention and time, and it will reward you. And you'll just, I don't know, you'll fall in love with music all over again, and genres you never really listen to. Like, just give it a go and really keep your focus with it, and realise it's like a two-way relationship. That's my wacky hippie advice.
That's the perfect advice, though. It's like, we're all like, as soon as people stop thinking about music being this like ecosystem that speaks to you and you speak back to it in like this like, I think we don't often think about music as being this living being. Yeah. When it enters the world, it has its own life, but people have created that for you, or for people like you, or for people nothing like you, and that's often why it's so empowering and inspiring. And I think music's such a weird force that we don't understand, which is why we spend so long trying to put words to it. It's like the ultimate pin the tail on the donkey.
It is. We don't really know where it's come from. And there's a really good interview I saw with Jack White, and someone asks him, what's it like every time you go to a sports game, they sing Seven Nation Army? And he's like, it's become a folk song. I'm at the point now where I don't even recognise that song, you know? And I've realised that my job was just to catch that song, record it and put it out there. That song is not me. And like, that's how I feel about music. Like, as someone who writes music as well, it's kind of just your job to capture this magic that is hard to explain. It's hard to explain. But it's like a real living thing, because it can change your mood. It can change you. You know, like, you can spend loads of money on a Red Bull or an energy drink and it won't wake you up as much as a good song.
Yeah.
It's just instant. It's instant. It'll change your mood. And like, I know from just like some of the rubbish I've been through with my mental health, that the main thing for me was the combination of running and music. It totally changed my life. Yeah. It's a real thing.
I don't know how we follow that point, but I have one last question for you, which is, we've talked about journalism, we've talked about what you do. What do you think the future of music journalism is, could be? Does it even have one?
I think it definitely has a future. I think kind of like more important than ever, really, because there's so much music out there. You know, I think back to the times when I was a kid and I had maybe like 30 CDs to choose from in Tesco, and it was just a magazine that pointed me in the right direction. I think music journalism is, I think maybe we go away from the need for scores, and I would like to see more of like a way to understand other people. I'm a big thing that particularly at my age now, the good thing is to understand where, especially artists who are younger than you, where they're coming from and where they see the world, the way they see the world. And I think a lot of what's important for the evolution of mankind is like empathy and understanding people. And I think music is the best way to do that. So I think music journalism kind of should be pointing people in the right direction to kind of have their minds changed. I do think it a lot with people like Lawrence Fox and stuff. It's like, if only they could just listen to the right music, like it might make a difference to the way they see the world, you know? So I think music journalism should really kind of, just point us in the way of the right messages and the right ways to feel about life and stuff, rather than worrying about scores.
I bet Lawrence Fox only listens to his own records.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what I always think this, like people like Boris Johnson. I was like, I'd love a nuclear physicist to sit down and explain the end of the universe to someone like that. Or
it's also when you think about how big like Adele and Taylor Swift are, and what a small percent of the population actually buy their records. Like, and they're like the biggest things in like, and obviously some households have got 4 people in them and one record. But even at like the peak of music, like Fleetwood Mac weren't selling a copy of their album to every person in the UK. Yeah. So it's like, and then you start to look at like how big music is generally, and it's still a small percentage of the population. Yeah. Like and it's also, it's like, who are these people that go and watch like a kind of adventure movie or something, like some superhero movie, and they're rooting for the bad guys because they must think all these movies are miserable.
Yeah, totally. My son though loves a bad guy. He says good guys are boring. He loves a bad guy, so I need to keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
He says it all the time. He's like, good guys are boring, Dad. No, they're not. Like, you know, you'll find out.
And I didn't ask you, so this is why I've asked it at the end. Do you want to talk about the thing that you're working on?
Oh yeah, am I allowed to?
Yeah, of course. As long as you're allowed to. It's not coming out for a few weeks if you haven't announced it yet. So,
so I'm working on a few things at the moment. One of them is I'm allowed to talk about it. Yeah. What the hell? I'm gonna is kind of a road trip across America for a documentary. And travelling across America, playing a gig a night and running a marathon every day, running and meeting music fans, musicians, and kind of recreating a similar tour I did with Future Left, and just kind of trying to build a bit of a running community and have conversations about mental health and music and how life on the road, or just in general as a musician, can be tough, and how exercise and, you know, looking after yourself is important. So yeah, there's we've been filming for a while. We're hoping to go to America next year, So that's what I'm doing. One of the things I had to do for it was write an album. The idea was really good, and then I was kind of like, I don't have an album, so I've just finished writing the album. Well, I finished recording it, so I'm going under the name of Joyce because I love James Joyce. And yeah, so I finished recording that. That will be out sometime next year, and then the album will be accompanied by a travel across America and a documentary.
And how can people find all of that and everything else about you?
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter. On Instagram, I'm Nutbush Jimmy Limits or Running Punks. On Twitter, I'm Biggie Timpkins or Running Punks. Find Running Punks is probably easier to remember than those really cryptic names.
I will link to your YouTube channel in the box for the podcast and everything.
And a YouTube channel, yeah. Forgot about that.
Well, that was the kind of the hook. So, well, thanks, Jimmy. I don't think have you got anything else to say? I think I've asked you all the questions.
Other than like, thanks for having me. Like, I'm a massive fan of what you do. I love it, and I've been a massive Drowning Sound fan for years. And yeah, it's just thanks for having me. It's a real honour. It really is, honestly, and to kind of be doing my mad thing in a quiet part of West Wales and be sometimes taken seriously as a music critic is incredible. So thank you. Yeah.
That was my conversation with Jimmy Watkins, aka Running Punks, aka Joyce, his new music project. So that's halfway through pretty much this series. I've got lots more interviews to come. There was a prolonged gap due to being sick, the joys of British winter. And the conversations coming up are going to cover similar terrain about where the future of music journalism is going. You can now follow Drowned in Sound with its new newsletter at drownedinsound.org. It's powered by Ghost. If you want to support this podcast, there's ways in which you can pay £1 a month, £6.66 a month, or a little bit more if you are fortunate enough to be in a position to do that. It would be a great help because these podcasts take a long time to make, and I know I always hear people talk about these things on podcasts and it always seems a bit cringe, but I am doing this and it's free and I'm not expecting anything in return. I'm finding it absolute joy to speak to people like Jimmy and some of the other guests on this series that I've wanted to meet, and I've had an excuse to chat to them and to get a better sense of where we might be going as a culture, because music journalism is in a very odd place right now. Anyway, I'm not going to do a very long outro. I am Sean Adams. This was the Drowned in Sound podcast. You were you. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.